Mandrake, do you recall what Clemenceau once said about war?
No, I didn't think I do, son. No.
He said war was too important to be left to the generals. When he said that, 50 years ago, he might have been right. But today, war is too important to be left to politicians.
It's been said that in a mad world, only the mad are sane. And so it is that the obviously deranged general perceived what many of us today do not. Despite all of the demagogues spewing out Iran war propaganda, in reality, attacking Iran is about the dumbest thing we could possibly do. I'd like to take the time here today to prove this to you. But this isn't just my opinion. It's also that of a number of experts, including former CIA chief Michael Scheuer, who was tasked with hunting down Osama bin Laden, and retired four-star general Wesley Clark. To begin with, I don't know if you've noticed, but we're broke. We have no money. The United States is currently $15 trillion in debt. And of the $15 trillion that we're in debt, about 25% came from the Afghanistan and Iraq wars alone. So how does it make any kind of sense that while we're so desperately trying to get out of debt, we're going to go and repeat what got us into debt in the first place? Pundits and politicians warn us, however, that a nuclear-armed Iran poses a grave threat to the survival of the Western world. Not only could they bomb us directly, they could also hand off a nuke to a terrorist organization for their own nefarious purposes. Government officials proclaim that we cannot, under any circumstances, allow Iran to acquire nuclear capability, and therefore we must attack Iran. However, there's a serious flaw with this line of reasoning. There are plenty of antagonistic, anti-American countries that have nukes right now. Pakistan already has a nuke. India already has a nuke. North Korea already has a nuke. China already has a nuke. Russia already has a nuke. Are we going to attack all of these countries as well? Heck, we'd practically have to conquer the entire world just to keep nukes out of the hands of people who don't much care for us. It simply isn't practical, or, given the astronomical debt crisis we currently face, economically feasible to invade a country simply because they currently possess, or in the future may obtain, a nuclear bomb. But what if we did attack Iran? The general consensus is that we'd simply send in our warplanes, bomb their nuclear facilities, and bada bing, bada boom, problem solved. Easy peasy, nothing more to worry about. No, that's not at all what would happen. Not even close. American and Israeli military analysts have concluded that attacking Iran would make it more likely that they would get a nuke. I'll say that again. Attacking Iran would make it more likely that they would get a nuke. This is because an aerial bombardment would not be sufficient to destroy Iran's nuclear facilities. At best, it would merely delay them. Nuclear development would resume at a fevered pace, and there would be absolutely nothing we could do to dissuade them from that course. So the only real way to prevent the Iranians from getting a nuclear weapon is to actually invade and occupy the country like we did in Iraq. But this would be even more of a disaster, because as soon as we land our troops in Iran, all of their scientists are going to flee, and there's no way we can capture all of them. After all, it took us more than a decade to get Osama, and he's just one man. But of the scientists that get away, a portion of them are going to join a terrorist organization, perhaps Al Qaeda. And they're going to bring with them all of the knowledge and expertise in constructing nuclear weapons and give that directly to the terrorists. So in short, bombing Iran will ensure that either the Iranians or the terrorists obtain a nuclear weapon. Bombing Iran is a very, very stupid idea. Instead, we should talk with the Iranians. Talking, after all, is what worked with the Soviet Union. And they weren't just developing nukes, they already had nukes. And they didn't just have one or two laying around, they had 15,000 nukes. But we talked with them. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, Kennedy negotiated with Khrushchev, and they came to the agreement that in return for the United States removing their missiles from Turkey, the Soviets would get rid of their nukes in Cuba. Armageddon was averted by little more than the exchange of a few words. Talking worked with the Soviets. It will work with the Iranians. But the simple fact of the matter is, we can't afford to go to war with Iran. We can't afford to go even further into debt than we already are. We can't afford to make the mistake of assuming that bombing Iran will make us safer, when in reality it will only guarantee that either the Iranians or the terrorists obtain nuclear weapons. And finally, we sure as hell can't afford to sacrifice the lives of our men and women in uniform for another stupid, pointless war.